Red Bank teacher Vivian Woods got the thrill of her life when she competed to be the first school teacher in space. She was interviewed in Nashville and selected as a state finalist. While Woods didn't make the national finals, she fell in love with the space program. She was proud to tell her class about the shuttle and proud that they could see it lift off with a teacher, Christy McAuliffe, on board.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's just go. We have liftoff.
As the fifth graders were enjoying this special treat, seconds after the blast-off, Woods began to see something had gone wrong.
Accelerating towards 2,000 miles an hour.
Seconds after leaving the launch pad, according to NASA, has exploded in mid-air. No word yet on if there are any survivors. Let's replay the launch here and show you, we'll continue to watch the picture and show you what happened shortly after liftoff.
15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
Now for Vivian Woods and her fifth grade class, the horror began to sink in.
I think at this time, under the circumstances, it might be appropriate for those of you who wish to participate in a moment of silent prayer for the shuttle crew and Christy McAuliffe, the teacher in space. If you'd like to right now.
And in this moment of silent prayer, Vivian Woods was no doubt thinking it could have been her among the 7-member Challenger crew. Ellen Maynard, Action News.
While space officials are still trying to piece together why the Shuttle Challenger exploded, the rest of the country is in mourning. As Mary Ellen Loker reports, local residents say they will always remember today's ill-fated flight as a national tragedy.
Whether you actually saw the shuttle burst into flames or simply heard about it, no one was untouched by the overwhelming tragedy. People huddled near television sets throughout the day wherever they could, trying to reconfirm in their minds the impact of what was to be Challenger's final flight. Do you think you always remember where you were and remember seeing this?
No doubt, no doubt. It's horrible. It's horrible. Heart sort of stopped beating, you know, just feel for the families, you know, that because that school teacher, you know, was involved in it, and you know, it was just really, you know, terrible thing to happen.
When it came on the radio, it was just, you were just numbed, you know, you just couldn't believe it, like as a dream, you know, that had happened. You just felt shocked.
I was shocked. Reminded me a lot of President Kennedy's death in '63. I don't know where the analogy comes, but it was a national tragedy.
It may be too soon to tell what impact, if any, this tragedy will have on the space program, yet many people, in reacting to the apparent deaths of the 7 travelers aboard the Shuttle Challenger, couldn't help but also look at the program we may have been starting to take for granted.
After so many missions and all, you just, that factor you don't think about anymore, and so it kind of hits, you know, makes you wonder just how secure we are, the space program and everything, so it's sad.
I don't think it's a reason to stop it. I think we ought to go on because the good outweighs the bad on that.
We take for granted that these space shots are always just going to go off like clockwork, and I guess this just brings the mortality back into it all.
You've been hearing about the space program since you're a little kid and everything, and now the worst tragedy has ever happened has to happen. You know, you'll never forget something like that.
Indeed, it's like indelible ink, tragedy etched upon our minds forever. But there's also a feeling of patriotism that accompanies our grief for the 7 flight members and their families, and to probably every American, those who died will always be heroes because they lost their lives pioneering our last frontier. Mary Ellen Loker, Action News.
It began with a dream coming true for Christy McAuliffe, a wish so many Americans have had for the thrill of space travel. A teacher, a wife, a mother, chosen from over 11,000 applicants to be the first private citizen in space. Weeks of training and anticipation were all to have come together this morning for Christy, for her family, and for the school children that have meant so much to her. But no one could have known the tragedy that was to strike. A hard freeze and an overnight low of 24 degrees at Cape Canaveral left ice on the launch pad this morning. All other indications were good after several days of weather-related delays. Shortly after 8 a.m., a fire detector unit on board the craft was causing some problems, and an electronic component was replaced. All systems were then go. Launch was rescheduled for 9:38. Weather conditions again caused some concern, however, and further delays set the fatal liftoff for 11:38 a.m. Eastern Time. 7 crew members boarded the Space Shuttle Challenger. Veteran Commander Dick Scobee, pilot Mike Smith, crew members Judy Resnick, Ellison Onozuka, Ron McNair, and Greg Jarvis, and New Hampshire schoolteacher Krista McAuliffe. At 11:38, a crowd of VIP guests, including Krista's parents and members of her third-grade class, witnessed a perfect liftoff into the southern Florida skies. Mission Control in Houston reported no problems whatsoever, and all went well for just over 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Control program confirmed. Challenger now heading down range. We'll throttle down to 65% shortly. Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Velocity 2,257 feet per second. Altitude 4.3 nautical miles, downrange distance 3 nautical miles.
Then came the final command for full throttle.
Throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
Challenger, go with throttle up.
A massive explosion of the craft's volatile oxygen and hydrogen fuel destroyed the shuttle and sent debris raining down into the ocean below.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them.
Yesterday, Vivian Woods and her 5th grade class watched in stunned silence as the shuttle disaster unfolded. Woods had become very involved in the shuttle program through a competition to become the first teacher in space. At this time, Woods tried to contain her grief. She said she didn't want her children to see her cry. Since then, Woods says she's had a little time to reflect on the tragedy. Today, she wanted to give us her feelings on the death of the shuttle crew, especially about Krista McAuliffe, the first teacher in space. Woods read words she'd written while trying to come to terms with what had happened.
I regret most not having had the opportunity to have asked her, what would you have me do for America's students after you're gone? I feel so ill-prepared and inadequate to carry your torch that you've rekindled in America's educational program. What do you want me to say, Krista, about NASA's future and the eternal educational value that would have been gleaned from your space lessons? It keeps coming into my mind, Krista, that you want America's educators to go on, daring to inspire and challenge America's youth to reach beyond their abilities and feel the same commitment you did. I'm here, Lord, send me.
Woods says she expressed these feelings to her class.
They realize, I think, that I was committed, that I really felt strongly that our future was very dependent on the space program. It still is. I hope nothing will change. If anything, maybe we should be committed to her memory and the memory of the shuttle crew to seeing that it's continued, because their lives should not be in vain.
And her students seem to understand.
It was sad, but I'm glad that they had to die instantly and they didn't have any pain, and that now if they make a new shuttle, I hope it'll be better and we won't have any more mistakes. And hope they rest in peace.
And I would ask that in sweet memory and tribute to Krista McAuliffe and the shuttle crew that was lost yesterday, in support of our NASA Teacher in Space program, please show your love and understanding by sending cards or letters to those educators you've appreciated throughout the years. And even if by chance you should come across any of them, give them a hug. We need it right now. Thank you.
Ellen Maynard, Action News.
Today marked the 29th anniversary of the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. In our newscast, we showed you archived video from our coverage on January 28th, 1986. On that day, our cameras were inside a Red Bank Elementary classroom as they watched the tragedy unfold.
Today, News Channel 9's Kelsey Bagwell spoke with one of the students in that classroom who says she remembers the disaster like it was yesterday.
Main engine start. 3, 4, 3, 2, 1.
January 28, 1986. America eagerly watched as a 7-member crew launched into space. News Channel 9 cameras were inside 5th grade teacher Vivian Wood's classroom at Red Bank Elementary as the Challenger took off.
It's something that we had built up to all year in our classroom. Of course, we were excited at that time, you know, because the news was there in our classroom.
Dixie McKeel was one of the students sitting in this classroom, watching as the crew lifted into space. The crew included the first teacher in space, Krista McAuliffe, who won NASA's nationwide competition. Miss Woods was in the running to be that teacher, an honor that later went to McAuliffe. So instead, Miss Woods planned to celebrate the moment with her students. The entire crew was killed in the explosion just over a minute after liftoff.
Miles an hour.
Excitement soon turns to sadness and confusion, and students remember Miss Woods trying her best to keep her composure.
We knew something terrible had happened, and the look on Mrs. Woods' face was just enough to say it all.
Under the circumstances, it might be appropriate for those of you who wish to participate in a moment of silent prayer.
Do you remember her saying this?
Mm-hmm. Just like it was yesterday. Praying for the families, praying for the members that were on this space shuttle, praying for Mrs. Woods and her family.
McKeel says that moment in 1986 will stand out in her memory forever.
You remember every detail, every minute, the smells, the sights. It's just something that will always, you know, even though we were younger, it's something that will always stand out in our memory. It's a time that kind of drew our class together.
Kelsey Bagwell, News Channel 9.
That 1986 story was covered by reporter Ellen Maynard. The photographer was Richard Sims. Richard recently retired as our station webmaster after 31 years at News Channel 9.
If you'd like to watch the entire story from 1986, you can go to our Facebook page. It's our featured video right now.
Side Roads.
Welcome to Side Roads, where we are getting ready to blast off here at the Challenger Center on the campus of UTC.
Challenger Centers were a living memorial created from the Challenger explosion we experienced back in 1986. We lost 7 crew members on board that day, and the families wanted to take a very, very bad day and turn it into a miraculous day that they could promote and feature throughout the future. So what we are is an educational outfit, 45 plus centers existing worldwide, 3 internationally, which let school-age children come in and be astronauts and mission commanders for the entire day that they're here. So they actually come in and run space flights with us. One other special person on board that space flight was not really an astronaut, an actual teacher who had tried out with 11,000 other applicants to become the first teacher in space back then. NASA was really interested in getting an educator up in space to kind of get the different kind of person in space besides just the routine astronauts, military test pilots. And what a wonderful opportunity it was going to be for Krista McAuliffe to go up and to have the best classroom you could ever imagine, not one sitting on the ground, but one in orbit around the Earth, seeing it once every 90 minutes. And was going to be able to broadcast lesson plans and lessons that she had prepared ahead of time back down to a lot of school children who were going to be watching her. Of course, with that intensity of promotion with that flight, we had the whole world watching once again that day on the launch and experiencing the disaster that really did happen. And what we've done now is created, and the families have created, we all have created as a family, a wonderful opportunity for kids to see the wonderful things that they're learning to do in school, put them into practice here at Challenger Centers. The one thing that every Challenger Center has in common is a spaceflight simulator, basically comprised of two different parts. Simulating a space, what you need for a space flight, a spacecraft that we're traveling in different places in the universe to, and also having a control team sitting in a performed or looks like a mission control center. And kids flying as the astronauts report constantly back during their mission into space results that they get from doing experiments on board, doing other kinds of math and science activities, reporting those to mission control. The mission controllers are there for being the researchers to get knowledge on how they can make best calls on accepting results that are coming to them or taking care of problem solving if it comes to it. What we're trying to do, and always have done as Challenger Centers, is trying to keep up with the pace of wherever our real space program is headed. So if we're headed out to, the planets, then we're trying to create missions that would, work toward getting them there. We also have and have participated in Boy Scout groups coming in, Girl Scout groups coming in, church groups coming in. We have had assisted living facility folks coming in. Orange Grove has come in a number of times. We offer birthday parties on the weekends for individuals too. Most of the time it is group focused, okay, rarely individual, so it's usually a group that we have, a group of folks, as many as 10 to, 90 or so. We have an intergenerational group of folks that are routinely coming in and seeing us year after year now. Kids are coming in here and sitting and working side by side with their grandparents in these mission simulations and really getting a big kick out of doing the space thing, but also doing it right beside family. Why do I do it? I grew up as a kid of the space program. When I was little, I lived down in Florida. I could go out in my backyard and watch all these rockets go up from there. I said, I want to do that one of these days. And it already had made up my mind back in elementary school. When I go to college, I'm wanting to go in, learn to be an engineer. So I did. And worked as an engineer, and lo and behold, things would have it that I've been blessed to have opportunities to step in here at just the correct times to become, my childhood dream.
I mean, if you had this back then,
wow, yeah. That would be even more impressive, and that's what we're hoping to get across to kids.
All right, folks, what a treasure that we have here in Chattanooga, the UTC Challenger Center, located there off of East 5th Street on the UTC campus. The phone number for more information, or if you'd like to have a group stop by, it is 423-425-4126. You can also go to the website, which is utc.edu/Challenger.
You can learn a lot of history lessons at the Medal of Honor Heritage Center in Chattanooga. Starting today, the story of another important moment in history will be told at the center. The Challenger disaster is a moment that will never be forgotten, and now the Heritage Center will be part of telling future generations the story of what happened on January 28th, 1986, and specifically the story of Challenger Commander Dick Scobee. The 7-member Challenger crew launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida at 11:38 a.m. The Challenger explosion happened just over a minute after liftoff. A News Channel 9 camera was in an elementary classroom in Red Bank that morning. Part of the crew, Krista McCullough, the first teacher to be on board a shuttle launched into space.
Seconds after leaving the launch pad, according to NASA, has exploded in midair. No word yet on if there are any survivors.
A national tragedy. The entire nation was in mourning. More than 35 years later, people remember exactly where they were when they learned about what happened.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them.
Heart sort of stopped beating, just feel for the families.
This morning, more than 36 years later, one of those families, the family of Francis Richard Dick Scobee, sat at the center of the Heritage Center exhibit hall to honor the late Challenger commander.
From a very early age, Dick Scobee dreamed of flying.
June Scobee Rogers, the widow of Dick Scobee, her husband, her children, and granddaughter presented Scobee's Space Medal of Honor to the Heritage Center and announced a campaign for a new exhibit on the life of Scobee.
When this building came up with Medal of Honor in the name of it, I thought, oh, there's a Medal of Honor hanging on the wall in my home. No one gets to see it, except when we're passing down the hallway.
She talked to her family about letting more people see that Space Medal of Honor, one of only 28 ever awarded.
I thought, what a nice idea if they would accept it and give it a home here in our hometown of Chattanooga.
The story of the Challenger disaster has been told many times, but this family also wants people to know more of the story of Scobee and the rest of the Challenger crew.
It's how they lived their lives that was so important, that the whole world saw how they died. What we really strive to do is bring the piece of who they were and what they were trying to build in this country forward.
June and her husband, Lieutenant General Don Rogers, moved to Chattanooga in 1991, and since then her children and their families have all made this area their home as well.